Welcome everybody. Today we're going to talk about cue points. We had some questions in the Discord about do you need to use them or not? How do you set them up? What are they good for? I'm going to show you how I use them. I have seen different DJs use them in different ways and what they are. So what is a cue point? Uh, Important to note that there's two types of cue points. There's a hot cue and a memory cue in Rekordbox. Today we are talking about only hot cues. Hot cues you can edit the color of, and they will show up later when you access a song. Memory cues do not have colors and are a system that was used before. A lot of DJs still use them. Again, today we're only talking about hot cues. If you're curious about memory cues, I can do that in a different video. So one of the first things I want to talk about is the ability in Rekordbox to add cue points automatically when you analyze a song. In order to do that, you go to your preferences, go into analysis, then track analysis, then over here on the second tab, you turn this on. I have this set to manual. Rekordbox has an intelligent feature where you can train it to add cue points where you normally add cue points. However, this doesn't work for me as I add my cue points at various parts of a song. They are not always in the same place or the same color. So I have it set to manual, meaning I tell it when and where to place my cue points automatically. The way I have it done is I set it to add cue points and not memory points. I have it set to add 6 of them, starting at the very first part of the grid, so at bar 1.1. Then I have it set to repeat every 16 bars. So it'll set, again, 6 cue points every 16 bars, starting at the very beginning of the song. Are they going to be in the perfect place? Maybe not, but at least it's a good starting point. And even if I don't get a chance to go back and set them all up perfectly, I have a starting point for my cue points. So now all I have to do is analyze my song and say, yes, add cue points. So let's actually look at how to add and change the color of a cue point. To add a cue point, to delete a cue point, it's easy enough. You hit the X right next to it. And to add one, you just click anywhere in the box and it'll add it in green as the default color. To change the color, you right click and this box will show up. I know that this part of the song is a light melody, so I'm going to color it with light blue. If I want to add a comment, you click on this box here and you can type in light melody. I don't really type in comments unless it's something very particular. I'm mostly looking at colors when I'm mixing. So this next section, I'm going to talk about how I use color for my cue points. I don't do this for every song. Often I will just use the auto cue points as good enough. If I'm putting together a special set, then yes, I will color all my cue points. And I'd like to have that information. This isn't for everybody. You don't have to use my method, but for those curious, let me show you. So as I mentioned on my video about tagging songs with color, I feel the same way about cue points and my hot cues. I use the color to indicate where there's changes in a song, where instrumentals come in, where the bass line comes in. I use light blue for bass line. I use dark blue for instrumentals. I use light purple for oohs and ahs vocals and dark purple for actual vocal lyrics. I use red to indicate the outro. Or a good outro spot. Orange is the default color for loops. So if you create a loop, you can actually save it in your hot cues, and it'll save as orange. And yeah, so I have my system to sort of help me remember. You can come up with your own and what's useful for you. Again, I play mostly techno, house, and sort of trance-based music where there's longer transitions. If you are a hip-hop DJ or a pop DJ where there's shorter transitions, or you're doing jump cuts, you may use a completely different system. So it's up to you. There's no one right way, and I've seen a lot of YouTube videos explaining like, here's what you should do. There isn't one system that works for everyone. It really depends, on the workflow that works for you. A popular one is the idea that you should put a cue point 8 bars before the part that you want to mix in or the part that you want to drop. I generally like to keep mine 16 bars apart because if I'm doing a transition in 8 bars, I want 8 bars to beat match before I start bringing in that song. So I don't use the 8 bar method. I use 16 bars pretty much for everything. And I like to keep my transitions sort of longish. So I might even go back 32 bars from that mix point if I want to make a very long transition. That said, let's look at a couple songs that already have the cue points added in and colored. Here, light blue indicates light melody, light purple indicates light vocals, meaning oohs and ahs. This song has a lot of vocals, and this dark purple indicates that that's kind of the full the full vocal melody comes in at that part. You have a breakdown, and then I have about 16 bars with no vocals or very light vocals. I've indicated light blue to indicate that it's mostly just a melody and no vocals, and then I have H as my looping point, and that's already saved down here in orange. For the second song, I have a magenta to indicate that that's where I want to start. That's kind of my preferred place to start. The first part of the song is mostly drums and light melody. I'd like to introduce the melody into this song that's playing and play the breakdown fully later on. So I'm going to use this first breakdown to actually mix the 2 songs in during the live demo that I'm about to do. On one side I have On It Goes by Avalon Emerson, and on the other side I have DJ Sneak, Operation Sneak. I'm not on a controller or the CDJs at the moment. I'm purely on a laptop, so I am using Beatmatch to make this easier to show you. Here I have G set up. I know that this song is a lot of vocals. This is the only section here where I know that I can mix out of without vocals. DJ Sneak, this is an instrumental song, but still I want to introduce a new melody at this section here. So I know this is 16 bars long, and I have 16 bars to do this mix. I could make it 8, but I'm going to make it 16 to make it a little bit more interesting. So let's hear that. I'm going to cut the lows on DJ Sneak. You can pull this down to cut the lows, or you can just click the low when you're just on a computer to do that. So let's hear what this sounds like. This transition sounds like. When she moved on, I know I've been falling for far too long, but day after day it goes on. So I have the lows cut on DJ Sneak, and I'm gonna hit this loop on track A, and then I'm gonna cut the bass on track A just before the drop. I'm gonna bring the lows of DJ Sneak back in. I'm going to cut 2 bars of bass. And yeah, that would be like a 16 bar transition. That kind of sounds kind of nice, kind of dramatic. And that's how I like to use cue points. If you have any questions, leave them below, any comments, or if you want to have a conversation about this, join our Discord and talk to me there. Thanks. I hope this helps.